Committee on Thursday, November 10th, 2022 at 7:03 p.m. First item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of agenda. We have a motion to approve by Mrs. Rogalski, a second by Mrs. Feather. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. For the record, Mr. DeMonica and Mr. Collins are not here tonight. The next item on the agenda is the organizational meeting. So per our policy B3, we have meeting procedures and election of officers. Each officer shall serve a term of 2 years, and the officers are not term limited. We are, as of the last election, all serving 4-year terms. So this part of the policy looks at the officers and the committee assignments on a 2-year basis, and they can be renewed. But we do have a motion on the table by Mrs. Rogalski to table this. And we will table this until our December meeting to ensure that Mr. Collins and Mr. DeMonica can also be part of the vote. So we have a motion to table this by Mrs. Rogalski. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Ms. Smith. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. So we will put that on our agenda for our December 8th meeting. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Approval of minutes from the regular meeting 10/27/2022. Approval of minutes from the executive session 10/27/2022. Enrollment report 11/1/2022. School police report 10/1/2022. School bus inspection reports 11/1/2022. Residency truancy report 11/1/2022. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Mrs. Feather. Second by Mrs. Rogalski. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. The next item on the agenda is personnel announcements. Mrs. Duncanson.
Good evening. I'll be brief tonight. I only have 3 appointments. First, Catherine Arsenal, Clerical Assistant Technology at North Cumberland Middle School, effective November 7th, 2022. Second appointment is Casey Fascio, effective November 14th, 2022, for school counselor McCourt, 1 year only, and Cynthia Durkin, effective November 14th, 2022, math grade 7 at North Cumberland Middle School for 1 year only. Second, I have 2 retirements for you. First, after 30 years of service, effective June 30th, 2023, Janine Rue, Business Office Coordinator. And second, retirement after 16 years of service, effective June 30th, 2023, Alex Pergnano, Business Manager. I would thank them for their service.
Madam Chair,
Dr. Thornton?
if I could, Mr. Pergnano, certainly has been instrumental in keeping Cumberland's finances in a good place. So I just want to go on the record and really thank him for his hard work. He's done so many things behind the scenes, so many things, in school committee. He's really been a huge part of keeping us where we are. So thank you, Mr. Pergnano.
I'm sure we'll have many opportunities to celebrate Mr. Pergnano.
We'll have a special beach bag for him in June, Madam
Yes,
Chair.
he can't wait. Okay, next item on the agenda is report out of executive session meeting 11/10/2022. Report out of executive session votes. We did not take any votes. And then vote to seal the minutes of the executive session. Motion to seal by Mrs. Rogalski. Second by Ms. Smith. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. Next item is the superintendent's report. Dr. Thornton. I really like this, having that.
Like we're doing the weather, Madam Chair. So first up, I know it's been a while since we talked about wellness, but I wanted to give you an update of some data on where we are. first, in terms of the students, we are looking at, COVID, flu, and RSV. In terms of COVID, those are our numbers, as you can see. In the various schools, going down from the high school down to Cumberland Hill, around a couple hundred cases for the first few months. That is more than last year at this time. I mean, folks can theorize why that might be. I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you why we have more or less cases. Flu, and talking to the head nurse, it starts right about now for her in terms of her sense of when flu begins, but not really having a flu right now. In RSV, while it's certainly in the news, it is not right now in the schools in Cumberland. So that's the student update. In terms of faculty, staff, we do have, we're up around, say, 25% more folks out than last year at this time. So we're up a little bit, but still we are managing. On a given day, we might have, say, 60 staff out for personal days and or sick. Our high watermark last year could have been up around 100. 105. So we are managing, but we do have some sickness across the board. So I wanted you to have that, just to see. And as always, our last flu shot advertisement, we have one more clinic. It's on 11/16, 4 to 7 p.m. at the high school CAF. So get your flu shot. Now is the time to get your flu shot and be an influencer. So for those of you, we'll have this on the website. We have all of our parent-teacher conferences coming up. You can see Ashton BF. We have December 7, 8 to 2:45. December 14, 5 to 7. Community School, December 7, 8 to 2:45. And then December 14, 4 to 6:30. Garvin, December 7, same time. And then the 15th, 5 to 7. Cumberland Hill, the 16th, from 5 to 7. And December 7, 8 to 2:45. Cumberland Preschool, November 15, 5 to 7, December 7, 8 to 2:45. McCourt has 3 different times you can see here. The 7th from 8 to 2:45, the 10th from 6 to 8, and the 31st from 6 to 8. North Cumberland Middle, same, you can see here on the first date. And then we have December 8, 6 to 8, December 15, 6 to 8. And then the high school, December 7, 8 to 2:45. And then they have an open house on the 17th from 5 to 7. So we'll have that on the website, but those are all the open house dates coming up.
Are any parent-teacher conferences offered virtually?
Upon request, we do offer virtual. Some folks have schedule conflicts, so they contact the school, and we do offer virtual opportunities that way.
I remember last year at the high school, it's only during the day, and that can be challenging for
Right.
parents to be able to attend during
Yep.
the day, but being able to attend virtually would be a good option.
I'd say any person who can't make those times, let us know. We'll work with them. And as always, school construction, some more pictures for you, some exciting improvements. This doesn't look like much, but that was the Garvin parking lot, and those large circular plastic things are part of the new Garvin drainage system. Garvin's had a problem with water kind of just being everywhere in the parking lot. So this is something they're putting in. You can see here, they dug a trench where the parking lot was. These go in. The water now will leach through these pipes and go down and run down into the wood line behind the ball field. That's the idea. So that's half buried, half open. That's the first one they did in the parking lot. The second one goes behind the school, but that's the idea behind that. This is Garvin's new foundation going in. You can see they're already pouring it, already putting it in. So that's the new CAF and the Da Vinci room. And another angle, same thing. So you have the rebar in and they're pouring. I know it's not as exciting to see the building, but get to see what's next to you. This is interesting. This is Ashton. They poured the slab maybe, 5, 6 days ago. And then I went there today, and what did I see? All the steel is up. So they really are moving fast now. So it's really exciting. It looks like a building now. So now we have steel, and it is moving. So that's exciting. Community, same thing. They're pouring the foundation. You can see here that piece. And then I caught them actually pouring it. So that's right alongside of the building. So that is also happening as we speak. And lastly, Cumberland Hill opens their cafeteria on Monday. This was the one we put the steel beams in to fix the wood. The ceiling's closed up, insulation is in, painted, and now our team, we subbed out the floor to be scuffed up in 3 coats of polyurethane, and that's coat number 2. Coat 3 is tomorrow, and then opens on Monday. We'll have 14 lunch tables in here tomorrow. Also at Cumberland Hill, we got our shades in. These shades are fire rated. It took a while to get them. These are the shades in the first Da Vinci room. When they're down, you can see there. Another view, that's that room as you turn the corner, and you can see that these are down, these are half up. But that'll now be the standard in all of our rooms now. All of our buildings will have these shades when we open. We won't have to wait to have them back ordered, but it's one of those things that happen. So that's exciting to see. At Cumberland Hill, the last things to come are the lighting packages, they call it, in the common area, and that's on the way. And we're closing in on the last few things like cubbies, and then we'll have Cumberland Hill, good to go, and then we're on to the other projects. So I believe that's it, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thornton. Any questions? All right, thank you. Moving on. Next item is reports of standing committees. Fiscal Management Subcommittee update. Can you take this, Ms. Smith?
Yes, thank you. The fiscal subcommittee did not meet tonight. However, we do have payment of bills and several resolutions that we will address later in this meeting.
Next, Policy and Procedure Subcommittee update. Mr. Fiorella.
Yep. Sorry, just it sounded very, sounded like a lot. Yes, policy did meet on Tuesday night. We discussed two policies, G6, which we do every year. We're actually doing it a little earlier than normal so that we can have everything in place for budget discussions. G6, just to remind everyone, is the personnel benefit policy for the non-unit administrative and support personnel. We made some changes regarding raises for next year. So we will discuss that a little bit more in detail later on when we vote on it. We also changed some language in the G21 policy, which is really the at-will employees, the non-contracted employees that have, over the years, quite honestly, been largely forgotten. We're talking like bus monitors and part-time clerical, part-time, just all the different, the courier, athletic coaches, all those kinds of positions. And what we've done is we've had a situation where some of these positions, some of these substitute clerical positions and others have been in these jobs for over 20 years. They receive no benefits, they receive no vacation, nothing really other than their hourly wage, which hasn't really been kept up with the years of service that they've had. So we, the administration has created a little system. I don't want to call it steps because it's really not steps, but it kind of is, just for years of service, to give these folks that have been here for so long additional pay on 10 years, 15, 20 years of service. So it's a very small amount of money. It was discussed in fiscal last week, just discussed about the fiscal impact, because unlike G6, the G21 policy would take effect as of tomorrow, I believe. Next payroll, sorry, if that should pass later on. But we can answer any questions that you folks have a little later on in the agenda. Thank you.
Next is the Achievement and Communication Subcommittee update. We did not meet this week, but we will plan to meet next month, sometime in the future. Next is the District Health and Wellness Subcommittee update. Mrs. Rogalski.
The District Health and Wellness Subcommittee met on a couple of weeks ago, October 11th, and it was our first meeting of the year. It went really well. We had a really good attendance. One of the things we discussed was the Rhode Island Healthy School Coalition annual breakfast, which had happened just prior to that, and it was really a wonderful breakfast. It kind of focused on social emotional needs, more almost of teachers and staff this year than the students, because we've worked so hard on the students, and so now it's kind of catching up how to help and support administrators, staff, and teachers. So they had some really fantastic presentations on there. One or two that we're going to look into a little bit more and see if it's possible to bring to the district itself here with teachers. We had updates from Martin Crowley, who is our athletic director. There's a new athlete handbook that goes over expectations for athletes and what is acceptable and unacceptable behavior. They plan to have Sojourner House out again this year to talk about what is acceptable in relationships versus what you see online, what is actually acceptable in real life. So they're going to have them back out. They also have the Taylor Hooten Foundation, which talks about PED use, to come in and speak to the students a couple of times a year. So they have a grant for that. And they're also having all coaches, they're asking all coaches take a course on bullying and hazing and recognizing signs of abuse. So that will be wonderful for them to have. We got some updates from Sodexo. The freight farm is up and running again, which is really good. They have people from Franklin Farm and Johnson & Wales helping. They're waiting on 2 units to come in still, last I heard, and then they'll be able to hopefully get students back in to help out with it. We are going to be discussing the program at our next meeting, which is next month, which involves recycling on a much kind of bigger level, not just recycling cardboard, but also unused food, and kind of making better use of that and less food waste. And we're going to be discussing, seeing if that's possible to do with our schools, with Sodexo and just in general. And we had an update on the Satchel Pulse program with Dr. Santa, and she kind of gave us an overview of how that is going, and it is a tool to measure the social and emotional needs of our students. And she gave kind of a brief overview of what we're going to be doing and how the program is set up and split up between the young students and the older students and how it works. So that's going to be interesting to see, and I think this next meeting we're going to get a little bit more information on that. And that is it. Our next meeting is next Tuesday.
Yes, Mrs. Feather?
Just a quick question. With the food waste in schools, I know we used to do the pig farm in somewhere. Do we still do that?
No, at the moment, we are not doing the pig farm. And that did come up, but I can't remember the reason why. But I will check into that. Mr. Pirillo might have more information.
I can answer that, actually. Apparently, the pig farm during COVID either shut down or the program shut down. And last I knew, they were looking for a new farm to be able to send the food waste to.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Rogalski. Next on the agenda is public hearing, reading of amended policies, G6 personnel benefit policy for non-unit administrative and support personnel, and G21 non-contracted/at-will employees. Mr. Fiorello.
I would just ask that both of these policies be read into the record.
Okay, thank you. And next is public comment related to these policies. Anyone from the public? Okay, next, we will move into our open comments from the public. So if anyone from the public would like to say anything, you can come up to the microphone and give your public comments. Okay, no? All right, next.
We're all like, come on.
All right, now, next item on the agenda is old business. Discussion and/or vote to approve appointments of new members to the Cumberland Public Schools Renovations Committee.
Madam Chair, I know this was tabled last month. I did speak to the mayor, and he was very comfortable if we were to add the 3 new building principals and remove the principal that the building is completed. So if we could entertain adding Ms. Carbonic from Ashton, Ms. Vaughn from Community, Ms. Carter from Garvin, and removing Ms. Malcolm from Cumberland Hill.
Yes. Motion by Mr. Fiorello, second by Mrs. Feather. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. Thank you. And the next item is discussion and a vote to approve 2022-2023 school bus routes.
Once again, this was tabled last meeting, I think, for more time, so it's just here for your consideration.
Ms. Smith makes a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Feather. Any discussion? Oh, second by Mrs. Rogalski? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda is new business. Item A, discussion and or vote to approve amended policies. Mr. Fiorello, I'll let you take these.
As I stated earlier, what's the first one? G6, personnel benefit policy for non-unit administrative and support personnel. This is all of our contracted employees, central administration, all of our IT people, superintendent, assistant superintendent, all of these positions, administrators. We normally do this a little later in the year, usually around January into February, which really, when you think about it, we should always have been doing it at this time, so that we can better plan for the budget. Not that we didn't know where most of these contracts were going to be anyways, but it just was a little bit smoother. So that's what this is. It represents a new base for some of these positions. And it is in line with what we're doing with everyone else, the way we've always done G6, quite honestly. If anybody has any specific questions, I would direct them to either Mrs. Duncanson or Dr. Thornton, as they're the ones that really, set those salaries. Otherwise, I would make a motion to approve G6.
Okay, Mr. Fier.
G21, non-contracted at-will employees. This policy is only about a year or so old. We had put this policy in place, quite honestly, because this was a group of employees that had largely been, I don't want to say forgotten about, but they don't receive benefits. They don't receive any kind of, health benefits, no benefit whatsoever. They're hourly workers for the most part. Some are daily workers, some are just stipends. So we put this policy together last year just to, account for them and have everything in writing for them. And then we became aware that, some of these folks have been in these positions for 20-plus years, and quite honestly, the way we were doing the pay structure, they were essentially making the same amount of money as people that had just come on in the same year. We did not think that was fair, so we created a structure where over years of service, they end up getting a little additional money. It's not very much money, to be honest with you, because these jobs are at the lower end of the wage scale. It was approved by fiscal, and as I said earlier, these changes would take place effective in the next pay period, which is next week, and I would move passage.
Okay, Mr. I'm sorry, my microphone's not on. I'm sorry. That last one passed 5-0, A2. The next item, B, discussion and a vote to approve recoding of approved resolution. Ms. Smith, you'll take this?
Yes, while fiscal did not have its meeting tonight, we do ask that this be voted on tonight, and I would make a motion to approve.
Ms. Smith makes a motion to approve the recoding of this approved resolution. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Rogalski. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. The next item on the agenda is discussion and a vote to approve resolutions. We have 7 on the agenda tonight, and Ms. Smith is going to take those for us tonight.
Yes, which should be quick because Mr. Collins is not here tonight. We have 7 new ones, SC 11-2022, 126 through 132. While we did not vote on them because of our not having the meeting, I would make a motion to approve all.
Ms. Smith makes a motion to approve all resolutions, SC 11-2022, 126 through 132. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Feather. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? They pass 5-0. Nicely done, Ms. Smith. The next item is discussion and a vote to approve payment of bills.
Yes, Madam Chair, we have payment of bills in the amount of $1,036,710.35, and I would move passage.
Ms. Smith makes a motion to approve payment of bills. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Rogalski. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 5-0. Thank you. Next item is school committee comments, school liaison reports. Do we have any comments from the school committee? Ms. Smith?
Madam Chair, I actually have an announcement from Mr. DeMonica, and I think we can all attest to this as well. We just wanted to offer our condolences in the passing of two of our previous employees, Irene LaValle, who was a 20-year teacher aide, and Deborah Bissett, who was 35 years as a library aide, and we send our thoughts to their families.
And, Mr. Fiorello.
I just want to make mention that the Cumberland Special Education Advisory Committee is meeting next, I'm not sure what day it is, it's the 15th. It is going to be at Cumberland Hill at 6 o'clock, Tuesday? Thank you. That is a group of parents of special education students that kind of work with the school department and advise us on what is working, what isn't working, and Dr. Santa's always present with some of her people. These are very good meetings, and because we're doing it at Cumberland Hill, which has one of these lovely boards, we're able to have a combination in-person and Zoom meeting. So it's working out really well so far. So I just urge everyone that has any connection to the special education department to attend these meetings.
How would people get the Zoom link? Is it on the school calendar?
It's a good question. We advertise for it, and also Facebook has a group. The Special Education Advisory Group is run by a couple of folks, and they make sure that all that information is up to date on that page.
Okay, thank you. Any other school committee comments? Okay, the next item is vote to go into executive session, but I don't believe, Dr. Thornton, we have that tonight?
We do not.
Thank you. So the next item is adjournment. I need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mrs. Rogalski. Second by Mrs. Feather. All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. We're adjourned at 7:30 PM.